special counsel Jack Smith closing in on Trump. We have witnesses being brought in who were close to the president at the time he was president on January 6. NBC reporting White House aide William Russell, who's with the Trump campaign today, is also testifying today. He already testified before the grand jury. They're bringing him back for follow-up. That is consistent with the reports from both Donald Trump and others that he got the target letter and that the indictment is looming. We're also getting potential additional details or clarity on what the charges could entail. Yesterday, several outlets, including NBC, was reporting that Smith is eyeing conspiracy and witness tampering charges. Those are pretty straightforward. If you watched the show last night, we discussed some of that. And then possibly a third charge. And the details on that, according to the New York Times, are that the third statute might actually be a civil rights law that's previously been used in voter fraud cases. Conspiracy against rights. If two or more persons conspire to injure, threaten, or intimidate a person in the exercise of a constitutional right. Now, that statute actually enacted after the Civil War. It was when the feds were trying to go after certain white supremacists, including the KKK, who were breaking the law to try to stifle black voting. In the modern era, it's also been used broadly, including in cases regarding voter fraud conspiracies. That's the latest on this story that continues to show that Jack Smith is serious about potentially issuing a second federal indictment of Donald Trump. And, as we've been doing, as this story has heated up, we begin one-on-one with leadoff guests who can walk us exactly through the law. David Kelly, former SDNY chief, and I should mention my former boss, is with us tonight. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Timing. Everyone wants to know. Nobody knows exactly. But what do you see as Jack Smith's likely path here?
Hard to say. That the tea leaves get a little confusing. So on one hand, he apparently or reportedly gives an offer to the former president to come in and testify like right away, which suggests sooner rather than later. But other reports are that witnesses are still being scheduled a month out. Now, once an indictment is issued, it really kind of limits the ability of a prosecutor to issue grand jury subpoenas without explaining that it's an ongoing investigation that goes beyond the charges in the indictment, because you can't use a grand jury subpoena as a kind of a trial prep tool. So if these witnesses are perceived to be important, and somebody like Bernie Kerik reportedly being one of them, probably an important witness, it may be a month out. Or more.
Right. And so you have everyone sort of excited, and we understand that. But as you say, there's a certain hints from the process. Then you have them bringing back witnesses. What do you read into that?
Kind of tying up loose ends and trying to compare and contrast what other witnesses say, and maybe trying to refine what a witness may have previously said once they've heard from other witnesses, that it may have opened up a little bit of gap that they want to close. I didn't get to ask question of witness A, and now I've heard from witness B that there is that issue. So we have to go back to A and kind of nail that down.
Yeah, and now that we've seen this preview, and again, we caution, we don't physically have the target letter, let alone the indictment, but we've seen at least a preview that gives the outline of abusing power and conspiring to steal the election up to and around the 6th. I have a question, but you look like you want to get in. Go ahead.
I was going to say, what I find interesting is that I think most people, including myself, looked at this as, kind of leading or inciting the storm on the Capitol.
Right.
And from this report, it makes it even a more interesting case, because by going and nailing down the electors from all the different disputed states, it makes it a much broader, more interesting case of trying to deprive people of their civil right to have their vote counted. Which is much different than just the obstruction charge of obstructing an official proceeding, which many of the January 6 protesters have already been charged and many convicted with.
Well, that's very important. And that, we've discussed this on the show multiple times, because what we learned was how big and really complex the different plots ran. It would seem to me, and again, caveat, we got to get the indictment, but it would seem to me, based on these charges and these clues, that Jack Smith's building a case that would argue, even had there not been a violent insurrection, there were other, he would argue or charge, crimes committed by this president, because there were other concrete actions and fraud taken to interfere with or stop the transition of power to the lawfully chosen president-elect at the time.
I completely agree with that. And from a jury appeal perspective, though, by having the riot, the insurrection, if you will, as part of that case, it adds a much it's much more flavorful, if you will, and more interesting for a jury than kind of the more intangible,
right.
I would say, kind of the election fraud, having people sitting in the basement of the State House in Michigan and signing false election certificates.
I think you're absolutely right. And that goes to, we talk about whether you have a case, do you have a good case? What does it mean when people like you sat in that chair and decided we can prove this beyond a reasonable doubt is different than we could teach this in law school, right? And these are big calls. Jack Smith has staked his entire legal career on what he says is the independent right thing, but we would expect he doesn't want to lose either of these cases. Lastly, you mentioned Michigan. What does it mean for America, David? Sometimes we go big. I ask you the big question. What does it mean for America that local prosecutors are also stepping up and saying, regardless of what happens, or even if Trump beats the case and is reelected, whatever, it also matters that this was, according to the Michigan prosecutors, also fraud that must be stopped at the local level?
It's incredibly important because, democracy is not just a federal issue. It's a state issue. It's a local issue. And that is a direct assault, if the allegations prove to be true, it's a direct assault on the democracy as it functions in Michigan and its towns and villages. It's incredibly important that it be enforced at all levels.